Hi, I'm John F. Allen.
And I'm R.J. Sullivan.
And we're the Two Towers.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Two Towers Talk Show Recap Review for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm your host, Tower 1, John F. Allen, one half of the Two Towers. Today we'll be recapping and reviewing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 11, Bouncing Back. There will be details of the episode discussed here which are spoilers, so if you haven't yet seen the episode, please go watch it and then come back to view this show. Episode recap. After returning from Maveth, director Coulson is determined to track down Gideon Malik and take out Hydra once and for all. Meanwhile, Agent Daisy Johnson, aka Quake, and her team of secret warriors are on a mission to discover new Inhumans. While public opinion on Inhumans is at an all-time low, Coulson is told by the President of the United States that he is to keep doing what he's doing and that he will secretly run the ATCU. Hydra, now strengthened by the merging of Hive with Grant Ward's body, is even more of a dangerous threat than ever. Tower talking points. Talking point number 1. You can't play with my yo-yo. This episode introduced a new Inhuman by the name of Yo-Yo Rodriguez, aka Slingshot. She debuted in the comics with an appearance in Mighty Avengers number 13 back in 2008, where she was the daughter of B-list villain the Griffin. She was given the code name Slingshot because even though she can move with super speed, she has to return to the spot where she started. Hence, Mac giving her the name Yo-Yo. They retconned the character for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that it's all tied to the distance she can travel in one heartbeat, although, as in the comics, she will be a member of the Secret Warriors. Also in the comics, the character lost her arms to a character named Gorgon, an evil Hydra boss, which were replaced with cybernetic arms. This would be interesting if they do in fact introduce Gorgon on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Slingshot does in fact lose her arms. It may explain the blood in the Quinjet and her cross hanging in midair. See more about that below. An interesting side note in regards to the cybernetic arms, since Coulson has one, it wouldn't be too far-fetched for her to have two. We'll have to wait and see. Talking point number 2. S.H.I.E.L.D. in space. In the prelude to the episode, it flashes forward 3 months into the future and shows a derelict Quinjet floating just above the Earth's atmosphere. As I mentioned above, there is blood on the front viewport and Yo-Yo's cross floating in midair. This is a similar plot device to what is shown on Arrow with the Mystery Grave. I'm curious to learn what this all alludes to and if as a result of this and Infinity War we finally get to see S.W.O.R.D. That's basically the shield for alien invasions in the Marvel Universe. This organization has been alluded to time and time again on this show, so we'll have to see how that goes. Talking point number 3. Coulson gets presidential approval. President Ellis from the MCU films has given Coulson a green light to continue doing what he's doing as far as S.H.I.E.L.D. is concerned. There's just one catch. We can't acknowledge your existence. Given the collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America Winter Soldier, the public believes the organization to be disbanded. However, we all know that isn't the case. Yet, POTUS wants to continue to keep the public in the dark. Understandably. On Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Inhuman problem is getting out of control and it's S.H.I.E.L.D.'s job to deal with it. President Ellis also informed Coulson that he would be running the ATCU behind the scenes with none other than Major Glenn Talbot as the face of the organization, the public face. So, this is definitely going to be interesting, kids. What I can say about this is that I'm wondering how they're going to work together, and I'm also wondering if maybe Talbot may try to double cross Coulson or make him look bad or incompetent, or even try to take over as the head of the organization and put Coulson and the other agents on the run. We'll have to see. It may also tie into why Bobby and Hunter are going to be on the run in the spin-off show Most Wanted. So we'll have to see how that ties up as we go towards the end of the season. Talking point number 4. Secret Warriors Unite. When the team storms the police station, they use their powers creatively to infiltrate the station and take down the powerful Inhuman who's working with them. These are the sort of stories I always thought this show should have been telling from the beginning, and I'm glad to see it here and now. I can only imagine what other Secret Warriors characters from the comics will pop up on this show. And just like S.H.I.E.L.D. is finding good Inhumans like Slingshot, Hydra is finding the bad ones. For instance, the powerful Inhuman that I spoke of earlier that they had to take down at the police station, he basically could like suck the life force out of someone. So that's an interesting power to have. I'm not sure if there's a tie into the comics. I'm not familiar with a character with that particular power, but on this upcoming week's episode, they'll get into more about him. So we'll probably find out whether or not he has any comic ties or not. This all makes me wonder if, in addition to Hive, aka Ward's dead body, they introduce Gorgon. He would be tied to the hand in Daredevil, and he has a God Killer sword that's like a spiritual sword. It would be interesting if they do use the Gorgon character, because he ties into the Daredevil mythos with the hand, how that could get the shows linked. You wouldn't necessarily have to, Daredevil wouldn't have to necessarily acknowledge S.H.I.E.L.D., and S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't have to necessarily acknowledge Daredevil, although a wink and nod like that would be kind of cool, I think. Talking point number 5. Ward is dead. Long live Hive. We all know that Grant Ward was killed by Coulson and Maveth, but the Hive entity inhabited his body and slipped into the Earth plane. It will be very interesting to see Hive develop as a character, given that Brett Dalton is portraying a different character with a very different personality and different motivations. Kudos to his acting skills for pulling that off so well so far. In the comics, Hive was merely a congregation of parasites which could infect others, and he was created in a lab for Hydra. Of course, they've retconned that to make him an otherworldly type being or entity. I think that all ties into the cosmic level that that the MCU is introducing, and magic with Doctor Strange when that film comes out later on this year. I don't mind that. The whole creating stuff in the lab is getting kind of old. I mean, they've done it several times. I mean, it's tied to Captain America's origin and other things within the MCU. So I'm glad they're kind of tying this into the whole cosmic level things, such as the Inhumans being descendants of the Kree, etc. Of course, Hive's been retconned again, like I said. He appears to exhibit some type of mind control. The extent of this we'll be able to see in the upcoming episode this week. So I'm interested in seeing to what extent and how powerful he is. They've been feeding him raw meat, so I don't know what that's all about. He looks kind of like some kind of vampire type creature, so that's kind of interesting to see exactly how this all plays out. Now we've reached a segment of the show called Pros and Cons. This is where I give you my opinions on the pros and cons of the episode. Pros. Okay, where to start? I think that I've been going through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. withdrawal, so everything really looked good to me in this episode. I mean, I love the introduction of Yo-Yo, the teamwork amongst the Secret Warriors, Coulson getting an okay from the president, and the taste of Hive we saw. Also, I enjoy seeing Fitz and Simmons reaching out to each other, and from the previews of next weekend, we can see even more new and exciting Inhumans appear. From what I saw in the previews for this upcoming episode, looks like Crusher Creel, aka Absorbing Man, is coming back. Now, in the comics, he had a son named Stonewall, who was a member of the Secret Warriors. So I don't know if they're going to retcon that to maybe get Crusher Creel to become a member of the Secret Warriors himself and forego the whole son thing. That would be kind of interesting if they did that. It would be interesting to see where they go with that. You know, Crusher Creel is tied to the Daredevil TV show as he's one of the fighters that Matt Murdock's father fought. So it's kind of interesting that they've got these little ties to the other shows within the MCU. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the Crusher Creel character after this upcoming episode. The show's definitely come back strong from its hiatus, and I'm really excited. I love the groundwork that the writers are setting up for the bigger Inhuman story arc, which will spill out into the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, we've got the movie coming up in a couple of years, and that's going to be interesting. This show was renewed for season 4, so that was announced recently, and you can check out an article about that on our companion website, which is twotowerstalkshow.wordpress.com. And I'm excited that it was renewed. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with season 4. So stay tuned for that. And also, of course, looking forward to this Inhuman movie. It's going to be interesting to see how they use the show as a vehicle to kind of tie these movies together and show things that occur in the outside greater Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, from a more human perspective, or inhuman, as the case may be. On to the cons. I don't have much in the way of cons for this episode, other than wondering who the Inhuman who was working with the corrupt police force was. The one that I mentioned earlier that could kind of look like he could suck the life force out of his victims. He's not someone I readily recognize from the comics, but hopefully this will be more fully explained as we get into the next episode, this upcoming episode, and farther into the season. Also, the idea that Inhumans are such a huge threat in the public's eye, yet they haven't dealt with this in the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's kind of like, I understand they're dealing with a whole lot of other things, you know, like with Captain America Civil War, there's the Sokovia Accords, which, you know, spilled out from Age of Ultron. So I understand that they're dealing with a whole lot of other things. I would like to see at least a little mention of that in Captain America Civil War. That kind of ties it back into the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, without having to be too heavy-handed about it. I mean, they don't need to go into, well, S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing this, that, and the other. You know, they could have General Thunderbolt Ross simply make a statement that Inhumans exist and they're popping up all over the place, and this is something that we're dealing with, in addition to the destruction brought on by the Avengers tackling foes and some life lost and things of that nature, which leads to the ultimate conflict between Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. So it remains to be seen if they mention it, but I hope that they do. I hope it gets handled in that film. We'll just have to see. Alright, on to the segment of the show called Easter Eggs. Basically, I don't have any other Easter eggs than what I hit on in the Tower Talking Points, so that's it for this episode. I think there'll be a lot more Easter eggs in this upcoming episode. I'm hoping, you know, with the appearance again of Crusher Creel and some other Inhumans, I think that will be a show that has plenty of Easter eggs. Final thoughts. I really enjoyed watching this episode. I hope there are more like it. I literally didn't want this episode to end because I was really into it. And then when the end came, I was like, dang it, I've got to wait until next week. I think they've really come a long way. I've been a fan of the show from the beginning, but the first season was really weak to me. It didn't seem like they had any clear path that they were following, and it didn't really tie into the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe like I thought it should. And then the agents weren't doing what I thought would be more of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent thing. As far as, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra. That's kind of what I wanted to see because I'm a fan of the old comic books from the 60s and 70s. So I'm really excited about where they're going with things right now, and that they're tying this into the Secret Warrior storyline from the comics. I really am looking forward to seeing where they take that into the remainder of this season and going into season 4, which again, it got renewed for season 4, so I can only imagine what next year is going to be like as we get into the other movies within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that'll be released between now and the end of next year. So be very interesting to see. I give this episode 4 out of 5 towers. It was really good. They came back strong. I'm really pleased with the show, and I can't wait till this upcoming episode. Alright, well, in related news, we'll be airing recap review shows for Supergirl, The Flash, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Arrow, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow weekly. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to get them all. And also, I hope to air the shows the day following the air dates for each episode, but they're not always going to be exactly the day after. It should usually be sometime within the week or before the other episode airs, but I can't promise anything. But I'll get these up as soon as I can, because I know you guys really want to hear what I have to say. Or at least I hope you do. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, hewa. The Two Towers Talk Show is sponsored in part by Showtime Cinema in Mooresville, Indiana. Their friendly staff is always willing to go the extra mile to make your movie-going experience an enjoyable and memorable one. Enjoy the comfort of their new cushioned seating in their spacious auditoriums, and while you're there, be sure to stop by the concession stand and purchase some popcorn where real butter topping is an option. They're located at 300 South Bridge Street in Mooresville, Indiana. We hope to see you at the movies. Be sure to check out our advertising partner, DC and Marvel, a universal alliance. They are a friendly Facebook community who offer digital comic book giveaways, games, tournaments, and viewing parties. Follow the link below and give them a look. You'll be glad you did.